What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and welcome to another episode of All Hail the King. This will be episode number 18, and in this one we're going to cover a few offensive and defensive PvP possibilities. As always, I would just like to inform anyone who's unfamiliar with this series, this is the corresponding video to a podcast segment that you can find at www.thehelicarrier.com. Also, make sure to tune in to the From the Helicarrier podcast live on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can also check out the corresponding podcast in a link below. Moving on to our first team up, it's probably going to be my opening defensive team. For my weapon setup, first I'm using the Bashanga's Blade, and this should pretty much be on every team. Next I'm going with the Synthetic Cube, followed by the Raft Shank. I have this equipped for Combo Breaker, which I think is going to play a big role this season. And lastly, we have the Dragon's Foot, which helps all unarmed attacks from allies. This is still a pretty amazing weapon for Quicksilver and Juggernaut. So how well do they work on defense? Well, you're going to see some of their raw power on an offensive attack. From there, you can kind of speculate how well they'll do. And one of the important things about this particular team up is, they're not very complicated. They're pretty much all attacks in one quick action from Juggernaut. This means even the AI couldn't possibly mess this one up. At least not too bad. Right out of the gate, our Quicksilver's doing tons of damage, but just wait until he gets Surge of Sidorak and the buff from Bashanga's Blade. With this particular team up, you'll want a really high attack bonus. Also, what I like to do is use the Scrapper Quicksilver and then the aggressive E-ISO. However, I'm only willing to do this because we have the Inspiring E-ISO on our Agent's Generalist and Powered Armor. That provides morale boost, and if you can't or don't want to use the Generalist armor on your Agent, then you should use the Generalist Quicksilver, and that way you can equip the Inspiring and Powered ISO 8 on him. Other than that, it's pretty simple. Juggernaut's going to use his quick action Surge of Sidorak, and that will boost unarmed melee attacks. This will make an already overpowered Quicksilver that much more annoying. Then he himself is capable of one-shot potential, especially with his level 2 Mountain Crusher. By the way, currently there seems to be some sort of bug with the Synthetic Cube and being interrupted. I'm not quite sure if it's just the Raft Shank or if it happens with Iron Fist as well. It's definitely a major bug, whatever's causing it, and hopefully it is fixed by the next season. But anyways, at this point in the battle, you're seeing some incredible damage potential from Quicksilver. His attack is saying 26,547. At this point, he can pretty much take out an enemy with one blinding punches. So let's see what he can do on the enemy Juggernaut. Unfortunately, he does miss, and Juggernaut really dodged the bullet there because I think that he would have been finished by blinding punches. Next, I just want to go ahead and remove the enemy's buffs, so I'm going to use the Blackest Void. Juggernaut also misses our Quicksilver, so that's kind of fair, seeing as we missed him with our Quicksilver. Now I'm actually going to pass our turn because I don't want to finish him with our Juggernaut. Instead, I want to see what kind of damage Quicksilver's doing at the end of the battle. So here goes our blinding punches, and it takes down a full health enemy, so that's pretty sick. Also, that was a Scrapper attacking a Bruiser. For this next battle, we're facing a pretty interesting team, although he probably just put it in there to help people farm incursions. Still, I'm hoping that Luke Cage's improvements make him much better, and I've already leveled mine to 14 just in case. After Quicksilver's opening barrage, the enemy agent is going to use Combat Serum. He also has the Scroll of Aknazak equipped. We'll actually be using this ourselves in a later team up. For now, our very first attack is going to be with the Bashanga's Blade. I really can't stress just how amazing this weapon is. It's worth putting on pretty much every team. The only problem is, watch if it's your only attack weapon because it does have a cooldown. If you use it with entirely quick action items, you're going to have to rest on some of your agent's turns. That can definitely be a problem, and you don't want any empty turns. Okay, so Luke Cage is going to protect against this Mountain Crusher attack, and he takes nearly 50k damage for his efforts. Then we hit Black Bolt with a huge 77,000 damage blast from the past. Now Quicksilver's doing over 10,000 damage on some of his blinding punches crits. I have to admit that's pretty insane. Then with our 1 mile punch we clock a 67,000 non-crit. So yeah, I think that team continuously shows its worth, but this next team up is one of my new and rising favorites. For this one we're using Hank Pym and Anti-venom. On my agent I have equipped the Bashenga's Blade, the Neuropurge, the Psychic Amplifier, and the Ex-Oblivion. The Ex-Oblivion, the Neuropurge, and of course this Army of Ants attack will all help exploit opportunity attacks. That's pretty much the theme behind this one. Place as many opportunist debuffs as you can, and then exploit them. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Then we also have the Psychic Amp to clear debuffs and raise all stats for 1 round. When all of these things combine, this team is going to have some really fast matches. Also, on my agent I'm using the Scrapper and Powered Uniform. So basically after we use these quick action items, we can either use the Ex-Oblivion or close the gap in the Bashenga's Blade. This time we're going for that second option and we're going to try to take out Agent Derpy before their turn. I think the initial hit from the Blade and the follow-up brawl should do enough damage. They do have a preemptive strike from the Mahayuga, but then we take them out easily. So now on Anti-venom's turn we're going to use Crusade, and I'm actually going to attack Hercules. I know Emma's up next, but she may take more time to finish because of her diamond body. Meanwhile, Hercules takes 140,000 damage from a Crusade. Then on Hank Pym's turn, we're going to use his level 9, and that's called Bug Squashing. This ability can do a lot of damage, but this is Emma. It still hits her for 70k, and that's the end of the match. For our second battle with this team, we're facing a Psylocke and Quicksilver team. You may see a lot of those once again this season. It helps if you have the Raft Shank, otherwise you may want to build around Heroic Age Iron Fist. On offense, you could actually try a team like Heroic Age Iron Fist and Psylocke. I had pretty good luck with them when I tried it. Since Hank Pym was stunned, we'll use the Psychic Amplifier, and now that's going to be removed. Next I'll use the Neuropurge, and then I'm going to try the one-shot their agent just like last time. Or I guess you could call it a two-shot because we're doing a follow-up attack. This is the main reason I'm using the Scrapper and Powered Costume, because you do get that early Alpha Strike. Alright, so here goes nothing. First we do 33k, and then we do knock out the agent. So now, like most first turns with Hank Pym, we're going with the Army of Ants, and since we have his new AISO, we also apply Winded. That pretty much sets up Anti-venom to finish whoever he wants, and in this case it's going to be Quicksilver. 150k Crusade isn't too bad. And then we're going to use the Ex-Oblivion with our agent. After a Bug Squashing, this team's going to have another easy win under its belt. And since it was a short battle, we're going to have time for one more team up and one more fight. But don't worry, we'll take another look at this exact team up in a video by themselves. Heimdall and Sandman work out very well together, and then we also have the Bashenga's Blade and the Scroll of Aknazak. Basically, the Scroll's first seal is going to allow us to keep our finest hour buffs. That was basically the problem with using Heimdall's level 9, the fact that the enemy team would erase them. Now we can use this first seal to suppress most effects that prevent or remove buffs. And best of all, it becomes a quick action because of the Tactician and Powered Costume and the Quick and Powered ISO 8. This also allows us to use the Bashenga's Blade in the same turn and keep those buffs. We do have a pretty scary moment when that blast from the past procs, but we do live through it. Then Psylocke thankfully uses her turn for mental coordination, and this allows Heimdall to use Vigilance. Of course, we will follow it up with his level 9, and that's going to give us all the finest hour buffs on one move. This means our Sandman will gain Agile, Focused, Fortified, and Strengthened. Because of this, his Hammering Blow is going to do major damage on his first hit. Okay, and the enemy agent is going to use the scroll as well. Luckily, we used ours first, so he won't remove our buffs. And there goes some sort of glitch again, and I have no idea why. But seriously, look at all those buffs. Our team is going to do so much damage. I'm still going to use Gathering Sand. That's mainly for that 50% chance to avoid attacks. Next, it looks like a level 9 attack would be pretty devastating, but instead we're going with the Hammering Blow, and we do 280,000 damage. Then it's time for a quick action Light Fantastic, which we will then follow up with a second seal. This one causes broken will on the enemies, so reduces damage done. Then it's going to give everyone's attacks ethereal and ignore defense. I'm fine with that because we have the biggest hitters and I want to see some major damage. Speaking of which, we're going to use a Ho-Fund attack on their agent. Oh, and he gets a lucky dodge, so now he's going to use a bunch of annoying things. First, he's going with the Synthetic Cube and the Light Fantastic. Next, he uses the Psychic Amplifier. Then he still has the Scroll of Aknazak, so he's going with the Second Seal. And then all he has left is the Mystic, so I assume he's going to attack with that. Sandman has Mirror Reality, so he just heals. And his counterattack heals the enemy. The good news is now I can do damage with our Hammering Blow, so let's go ahead after the enemy agent. This one does 364,000 damage. That leaves only Psylocke, so let's use our momentary advantage. We're going to skip on using the third seal because we don't want her to have very high crit resistance, so I opt for attacking with the Bashenga's Blade. This prompts a Wrath Shank. We interrupt her, hit her with the normal weapon, and then we do another Wrath Shank. That would be pretty sick if she didn't have Mirror Reality. That's too bad, but with our second turn we're going to use the Improbability Field. This will be a quick action, so then we also get to attack with the Wrath Shank. At this point I feel like this turn is extremely long, but I guess I'm just used to really quick ones. I think that maybe we'll get to finish her off with a really big damage hit though. We do have both Heimdall and Sandman coming up. Both Ho-Fund and Hammering Blow do tons of damage and can easily break 6 digits. It also looks like Vigilance is back, so we'll go ahead and use that since it's a quick action. At this point I'm just debating whether I should use Ho-Fund or whether I should skip and use a Hammering Blow. I'm actually going to go ahead and defer to Sandman on this one. After using our quick action Gathering Sand, we now go to the moment of truth. So let's go with this Hammering Blow. Unfortunately, Wrath Shank triggers and it ends the battle. Still, I believe Sandman got 2 out of 3 knockouts and they were both big numbers. Like I said, we'll also take another look at this team and it'll be in its own video. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Lastly, I'd like to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck and take care.